Hi, this is Erin from BlossyB. Welcome to my channel. The plan for this video is to open the Resin Molds Box for November 2025, The Quiet Moments. I'm going to use 4 of the molds to make some beautiful ceramic-like pieces with an eco-casting compound. As always, this box from Resin Molds Box was an absolute delight to receive and open. Unfortunately, I cannot find the footage that I recorded of my opening, which I'm so disappointed about. But I'm going to go through each of the pieces just using the images from Resin Molds Box website to talk you through what you get in this kit, and then I'll start making. So the first piece is a Moment in Bloom clock mould. Now this is so exciting. I've never made a clock before and it's incredible. It comes with the mechanisms to make 2 pieces, which I think is really generous. And each of the molds has the volume listed in ounces and mils, and you not only get an example of how you could create this piece, but you get some additional creative ideas as well. So if you'd like more details about any of these specific molds, you can just press pause on the screen, and I'll also put a link to them in the description box below. Okay, mold number 2, the Vessel of Growth mold. And this looks like such a substantial pot, and I think there are so many uses for this, so excited to make that one. Number 3 is the Dish of Gratitude mould. So this is a heart-shaped tray and it's got quite an organic look to it in the picture here. And as always, when I'm opening this treasure trove of new moulds, I'm already thinking in my head, would that one be better in epoxy resin, or could I try this in an eco-casting powder? So these things are running through my brain. Number 4, the Spirit of Change mould. This is just the most darling chameleon, and look how substantial he is. So this one will be something I'm pretty sure I would use epoxy resin with, just so I can really get that gorgeous glossy shine. Number 5, the Journey's Companion Turtle Keychain mould. Now this is quite special because you actually get 2 different turtles in the same mould, and they're a very popular piece at the moment, turtles. They're gorgeous, so why not? Number 6, a Gentle Glow cat holder mould, and this has been suggested as a cat candle holder, and it's just got the most darling details. So I think I might try and recreate one of my pussycats from the past with that, because why not? And then lastly, we get our bonus mould, and this one is called the Promise of a Treasure Box mould. And this is really quite unusual. It's a heart-shaped box, so a storage box in the bottom, and then with the lid on top. So this will be very interesting to make as well. So thank you to Ella from Resin Mold Box, and I've got a discount code for you, and I'll put all the links so you can choose to get this box as a one-off, or you might like to sign up for a subscription where you receive boxes regularly. And if you didn't want to purchase all of these in the kit, you can actually buy them individually. So I will put all of those details there for you. So I'm very excited. I've picked out 4 that I think will be perfect with an eco casting powder. So I'll just go and get ready for that and we'll get started. As I mentioned, each of these molds have the capacity listed, but to make them work with an eco casting powder, we need to do some maths. So I use the ratio of 1 to 1.8. So I take whatever it is in mils and I multiply that by 1.8, and then that gives me the amount of grams I need for eco casting powder. Now I'm using AR400, which is an eco-friendly powder. It's a 3-to-1 ratio with tap water, and so then all I do is divide the total amount I need by 4, and then 1/4 of that is water and 3/4 is the powder. The first mould that I'm going to work with is the Vessel of Growth mould, and that is mould number 2, and it is potentially a flower pot or just a container to hold objects, and I'm hoping that it will turn out to be a suitable pot to plant some succulents in or similar. So I'm going to be using Arc Liquid Pigment from Just Resin, and this is aqua green. I'm going to also be using the same amount in white, and so I'm going to have the combination of the 2 colours, and I'm just going to sort of roughly pour them in at the same time and hope that we get a really nice blend at the end. Now this mould is not quite, it's one of those moulds, it's not quite circular, and I freely admit I did not know how to stabilize this mold. And if you're making this, my suggestion would be to put something on the inside of the mold to keep the shape. So when I demold, you'll see what happened, but it took a lot more material than I'd mixed up, and I think that's because I had allowed it to sort of maybe sag a little bit. I'm not quite sure how to describe this. It has happened to me before with other molds, but this is a really large mold. So I was thinking, do I set a cup over the top of it to try and force it into a circle, and just wasn't sure what to do. In the future, I think I will probably make up some cardboard templates, as I've done before, to slip down over the edge. But you'll see every time I moved it, and particularly when I picked it up, more resin just went down further into the mold, and I needed to mix up more. That happened 2 or 3 times. So a little bit disastrous there, but it was the first time I've used this mould, so you just don't know until you do get to pour it. The last batch that I mixed up, I did have a little bit of white left over, so I've popped that into just a small oval mould, and I'll probably use that as a fridge magnet. Moving on to the Dish of Gratitude mould, and I've decided to use mulberry for this one with the colouring, and that is a vivid dark pink, and I thought that it could look quite pretty. So I've dropped some pigment into the water and blended that in, and then after I've got that all mixed in, I've added in just a couple of extra drops and only roughly stirred that because I wanted to have a more marbled appearance, and that's one way of doing that. Okay, next is the mould number 6, which is called A Gentle Glow cat holder mould. Now, this one I've decided to do like a ginger cat. I'm using 3 colours. I'm using orange, yellow and Tuscan Sun. I mixed up the AR400 and split it into 3 cups. I left one of them white, one of them I tinted with the Tuscan Sun and one with the orange, and then I also added a little bit of the yellow in. And unfortunately my camera during this was full and I didn't realise I was just quite happily pouring away. So it's just there on the left of the screen. I just kept swirling in all of the colours. With the little bit of leftover of these colours, I just poured some of those little moulds you can see up the top. They'll probably end up as fridge magnets. The last mould we're doing is number 7, the promise of a treasure box mould. And I'm going to be tinting the AR400 with red wine. Not real red wine, but the Just Resin Arc Liquid Pigment red wine. And this is going to be just a fairly solid colour. I'll be tinting the water and then adding just a little extra couple of drops so I get a slight bit of interest throughout. If you're pouring a mixture where you've tinted it like this into a 2-piece mould, not a 2-piece mould, but 2 pieces that are going to sit together, then I always find it's handy to put a little bit into each one. Just keep going backwards and forwards just so you get a similar pattern in each. After a bit of a wiggle and a jiggle, these are ready to cure. It only takes about 45 minutes to an hour and these are all ready. Now off camera, these are some little apothecary bottles that I poured with the leftover resin from that last heart piece. And they're looking cute. And then here are the little tags and the little white oval. So let's have a look at our plant pot. Now, I have cut a lot of footage out of this because it was ridiculous. Trying to get this mould away from the piece for me with my hands was hopeless. So anyway, you just get to see, you know, it looking all nice and easy. So here we go. Now, first reaction, well, first and second, I love it. I love the colour. I think it's just beautiful. But see the bulges on the inside. That is not meant to look like that. And that's where all that extra material went in because I lifted it up and allowed it to sag a bit. And so that's what I was saying. If you're going to be doing this yourself, I would strongly recommend that you find something that you can sit inside it to keep the shape. So let's have a look at the little heart tray now. And there we go. So this is a very sort of an organic shape. It's yeah, a little bit unusual to feel. It's got sort of little bumps all through it. And I'm interested to see what that looks like once we've waxed it. This is the heart. And of course, these are looking very much like not the top of a heart. I can't help it. Every time I see that, I'm like, ooh. This is the bottom piece. I was just pointing out there that I did actually put a little bit too much in this one, but it's very easy to sand back and won't be a problem in the long run. So this is the bottom of the heart, and this is the little piece that you would put any little trinkets or secrets or things in, and then the lid goes on and it forms a heart. And I've got lots of red pigment on my hands after this. That often happens when you do a sort of a dirty blend because you get some pigment up against the mould that hasn't fully blended in. Now, let's have a look at our little ginger pussycat, and I'm really hoping that he comes out super cute. I've got a very big soft spot for ginger cats. I had a beautiful ginger boy and his name was very creative. It was Ginger. And he was the best. And I just love this. This mould is beautiful. So we've got a little sleeping ginger pussycat there with a little space for either a little succulent or a candle. I think both would look just great. As always, I set these aside to fully cure over about 3 days. Then it's time to have a look and see how I'm going to finish these pieces off. I love using little simple dots to decorate pieces, and so I've got my marker here. So this is a Posca 1MR in white, but I very quickly realised that the nib was not going to work on this material. It just was drying out and not effective. But I thought I'd still wanted to have the dots. So I went and got some white acrylic paint and a dotting tool, and I just started dotting. If you haven't ever worked with a dotting tool and paint, I'd strongly encourage you to try it. You don't even need a dotting tool. You can just use anything that will make a mark on a surface. And the thing I love about it is it's so calming. And in fact, I thought I'd read you out just a little introduction again to the Quiet Moments box. Ella says in it, "Hello everyone, welcome to the Quiet Moments box for November. This month we invite you to slow down and celebrate the season of gratitude with your own hands." And I really did feel when I was doing this that I was forcing myself to slow down and just slowly and carefully rotate the pot around, do the next little row of dots, and keep on going. And this is sped up, so it did take me quite a little while to do, and it was an absolute pleasure and joy to do this. So I am going to keep speeding it up because after I've done this row, which was all I ever intended doing, I was so fully in the moment and addicted to the dotting that I decided to just keep going and keep adding more and more dots. And in fact, it's a wonder it just didn't end up a completely dotty pot. Just such a lovely thing to do. I can't stress enough, if you've never done any dot painting, it is definitely worth trying. And if you manage to look up the Happy Dotting Company on YouTube, it's a lady in Australia and she's so inspirational, worth watching. And by now I'm just completely obsessed with dotting, and I just keep going. So I start doing the outside of this heart tray, and then that's not enough. I need to start dotting the inside of the tray as well. So you'll see I'm going to do a couple of little hearts, and then I also do some little abstract flowers as well, just to tie it all in. And this was so much fun. I just loved it. It is so addictive. I really had to tell myself to put the dotting tool down when I'd finished this because I was worried I was just going to keep going. Now, the little heart trinket box is a little bit difficult for me to think how I would like to finish it off. And if you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear it. So what I decided to do in the end was just use this glaze all over it and give it a little bit of an extra shimmer and shine. I did wonder whether I should put some rhinestones or something around it, but look, finishing items off in a sort of a fussy fiddly way is not really my thing. I know though that there are so many other people who are really good at that, so I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts. So I just apply this with a brush, making sure I give it a really good coating, and then I just set it aside to dry. And then afterwards I did give it a second coat and then a really soft buff, and it just looked really pretty. Now, the little pussycat, I've decided I'm going to seal that with DuraClear sealer, wax sealer, and because this sort of has a slight white cast to it, and I just thought it would be a really nice, soft, almost chalky finish for our little cat. And so I'm going to apply that and then sit it to dry just for a little minute, and then I'll buff off any excess. And then the last two pieces, I'm going to use the Bois Nicole sealer wax, which I'm getting very low on. So I'm going to apply that with the sponge that comes with the kit, and then go through with the soft buffing cloth and give it a good rub and shine, and that gives it a lovely all over sheen and protects them. I'll show you some photos of the finished pieces at the end, and I really hope you enjoyed watching me create 4 of the pieces from this wonderful box from Resin Molds Box. And in my next video, I'm so excited to show you how I use the remaining 3 molds, and I'm going to be using epoxy resin with those. So I'll upload that fairly soon after this one, and then see if you like what I end up doing with those too. So thank you again for spending this time with me. I really appreciate it. And if you've got any comments or questions, always feel free to leave them. I'd love interacting with you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.